We are live on Yonkers Voice with the CCP City Council President, Lakisha Collins-Bellamy. Well, before you start, thank you for taking the time. As always, you do.
Thank you for honoring this request and clearing the air on a piece of legislation that I have sponsored, so thank you.
But before we go into that, let's remember what today is.
Yes,
okay?
Absolutely.
Exactly. Let's remember what today is, and remember that, yes, we have a day that is dedicated to our veterans, but we should be thankful to them every single day
for the sacrifice that they make in their family as well. So happy Veterans Day to all the veterans. Thank you for your service.
Exactly. And don't forget, guys, we're going to have an event today at 11 o'clock right here in front of the City Hall on the side, on Broadway side at 11 a.m. Come, say thanks, give them a hug, and say thank you very much for the sacrifices you have made, because it's because of them that we enjoy the freedom and liberties of today.
Absolutely.
Now, Council President, let's talk about this. I know that you had a hearing, conversation, an exchange last week?
Yes.
Here in the chambers.
Yes.
Let's talk about these, what you're trying to achieve, what we need to explain to the people of Yonkers. Take the floor, it's yours.
Sure. So in September, I submitted a piece of legislation which is essentially a mask ban. And this piece of legislation came about after a discussion I had with an African-American police officer in the Yonkers Police Department, who one day reached out and said, hey, Lakisha, do you think there's anything we could do about these masks? There has been a rash of robberies and individuals are committing them while wearing full-face ski masks. So I'll actually read and summarize the legislation. It's a general ordinance, and it essentially says, no person or persons shall within the city of Yonkers, while wearing any mask, hood, or device whereby any portion of the face is so hidden, concealed, or covered as to conceal the identity of the wearer, enter upon, or be, or appear upon, or within the public property of the city of Yonkers. And there are 8 exceptions to this general ordinance. One is, of course, we just passed Halloween, so a traditional holiday costume, wearing a face covering for religious purposes, lawfully engaging in trades, employment, construction workers, for example, or our athletes, sporting events where a mask is worn. Just this weekend we had boxing matches, so of course they wear their face coverings. We are not referring to that, as to protect the physical safety of the wearer. Wearing masks for theatrical productions or Mardi Gras or masquerade balls, so that's not included. Wearing a face covering to protect the wearer from the elements while participating in weather-related activity, including weather sporting events. Wearing a gas mask, that is not included. Wearing a mask for the purposes of complying, and this is an important one, with the guidance of any healthcare agency or healthcare provider, or otherwise protect against the spread of infectious diseases. And the last one is lawfully engaging in First Amendment activities. So those are the 8 exceptions to the full face coverings, which we are seeking to prohibit. And the young adults call the mask that I'm seeking to prohibit shiesty, after a rapper, they're shiesty masks, after a rapper who is known for wearing these masks. And as you can see here, all you see are the eyes of the individual.
So let me approach the camera so they see it. Now, CCP, I hear the exclusions, and one of them is religious purposes.
Yes.
If I'm wearing a mask and the police comes, somebody calls on me, look, he's wearing a mask, it's a violation of city laws. What if I tell them, the police officer, I'm Muslim?
So,
how do you back that up? Is just me saying that, or do I have to back it up in somehow?
of course, not going to ask you if you're a card-carrying member of an organization. However, there is garb that is known to be worn. Like the women wear hijabs and they cover themselves, and that is in fact, an exemption. But I don't believe that members of religious groups wear shiesty masks as a part of their practice of their religion. So our police department knows what religious attire looks like and know what shiesty masks look like.
So the problem is chastity masks, or is it covering the face? So it depends on how my face is covered?
So essentially, it's a full face covering, with the exceptions for gas masks, religious purposes, protecting yourself against COVID. So if your face is so covered that it can conceal your identity, then that would be considered a violation of this ordinance, and then you would look to an exception. So if your face is so concealed that I would not be able to identify you, then initially it would be, okay, that would be a violation. However, do they fit within one of these exceptions? Is it a masquerade mask? Is it a Mardi Gras mask? Is it an N95 mask? Is it something that you're wearing for religious purposes? Then that is something that is not prohibited under this general ordinance.
No, this ordinance, Yonkers is not the first
No.
to pass. In Yonkers, it hasn't passed yet. You're going
Correct.
to
It's in
explain
committee.
It's in committee, but this ordinance has passed many other municipalities.
So let's be clear, this was New York State law prior to COVID. So prior to COVID, the law was that you could not wear a full face covering. When COVID happened and the governor passed an executive office order ordering people to wear masks because of COVID to stop the spread, they repealed the law so that people didn't become confused about whether or not they could wear a mask, because there was a law in place, but the governor issued an order saying wear masks. So they repealed the mask ban in order to address COVID. So prior to this, New York State had a law similar to this one. Since that time, it has been repealed because of COVID. After that, Nassau County has passed a law also similar to this, which bans, it's called the Mass Transparency Act, which bans wearing masks in public places, full face coverings.
Now, consequences. A lot of people measure breaking versus consequences. And
Right.
if the consequences of breaking the law is not up to the violation, then just break it. What would be the consequences if I walk into a place, police is called, there is no justification for me to have that mask? What happens at that moment?
So it is not a crime in the sense that it's a misdemeanor. Some of the laws make it a misdemeanor to wear a mask. This ordinance subjects the individual to a fine of $250 or $2,000 if worn during the commission of a crime.
Would that be for the first offense? What about if it's a repeated offense? Somebody that did this, does it again, and does it again. Does that penalty increases as the
At
violation?
this time, as the law is written, no, that would not increase. But as I said, this item is still in committee because we want to hear from the community. We want to hear their input because this is important and impacts a lot of our minority youth. So we're taking it seriously. As I said, I introduced it in September. This past Monday, we had a committee meeting, which we had 9 students from every Yonkers public school attend and speak out. At the time, there were about 7 of our young adults who were so eloquent, and I'm so proud of them again, who came out and were in favor of this mask ban as students in Yonkers public schools. There were 2 who said, well, kind of to your point, if you give them an exemption, then an individual could say, well, I'm wearing it to protect myself from COVID, or I'm wearing it because of my religion, and that the exemptions kind of make the law ineffective. But the purpose of the law is to essentially help our police department, to give them a tool to help identify individuals who are committing crimes. So, for example, you see a group of individuals without regard of color. Our police department has made great strides from Yonkers past to be more inclusive and to diversify itself so that we aren't committing acts that individuals in the public may fear happen when our police department interacts with the community. We do community policing, as you see, and you oftentimes highlight events where our police department is positively engaging with the public. So I'm not in fear that this will lead to racial profiling here in the city of Yonkers, right? But our police department would have a tool that if they saw a group of individuals, they don't have backpacks on, they don't have their football equipment coming from an event, to just say, hey, where you guys headed? You okay? What's your name? Everything all right? That way, for example, it happened a few days ago, individuals with these shiesty masks on, you see them, and then next thing you know, there's an incident of shoplifting at a nearby Walgreens. So if you were able to engage that individual police department officer, you could say, is everything okay? What's your name? You have on your body camera, because remember, our officers wear body cams, so you know what that interaction looked like. And then 20 minutes later, a crime happens, you could say, that's the individual that I just spoke with, and you have their full face, so it's easier to identify individuals after a crime has been committed. It's not to racially profile, it's to give our police department a tool to help apprehend our bad actors that are committing crimes here in the city of Yonkers.
And to keep our city safe.
Absolutely,
Because
first and foremost.
Yeah, when the police is able to identify a suspect or person of interest,
Yes,
it keeps us all safe.
absolutely.
I don't know if you're aware of, I think a week ago there was a shooting on North Broadway,
Yes,
right by the daylight parking.
yes,
I saw the video, and most of them had their faces discovered, uncovered. Imagine if most of them had their faces covered.
right.
The identifier would be lost or more difficult.
Absolutely.
Or more difficult.
Because we know there are cameras throughout the city of Yonkers which help our police department solve crimes. However, when you have crimes that are committed in broad daylight, like the incident that occurred, unfortunately, back in the summer at one of our housing developments, and the individual in broad daylight in the playground where kids are playing walked up and shot and killed an individual with one of these masks on, and after they shot them, stood over them and shot them again. It makes it hard for our police department to apprehend that bad actor because their entire face was covered. People standing there couldn't say, well, they had black hair, they had gray hair.
They had glasses, because
Right,
you don't see
because
it.
you don't see any of that, right? The cameras aren't going to see what that individual looks like, and that's what we're trying to bring justice to the families that have been victims of crime, and we're trying to help our police department keep the city of Yonkers safe.
So we need to make it clear again, this is not racial profiling. This is to help our legal and police department, helping them identify those that might commit a crime or suspect of a crime.
Correct. And it's not about stopping individuals from wearing masks that want to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Those are absolutely not banned because we've received some phone calls, we received emails, and we just want to make it clear what we're seeking to address. And we will keep this legislation in committee, make some tweaks. Maybe we'll add the word ski mask or bandanas. That was one of the points that were brought up on Monday, that it didn't say bandana.
Yeah.
When back in the day, the bank robber would wear the bandana scarf
We didn't
around.
have those ski masks
I
back
know,
then
right?
either.
There were no shiesties back
Yeah.
in the day when you were robbing the bank. But that's what we're seeking to address. We're not trying to infringe upon anyone's First Amendment rights or liberties, but we want to keep Yonkers safe, and we want to help our police department. So that's why this legislation has been proposed. I will, while it's in committee, seek to have town hall meetings where I engage the youth, because that's who's directly impacted, and have them come out and give us their opinion on this piece of legislation. And I'm totally open to, one of the other issues was the word hood, right? I wear a hoodie. My son wears a hoodie.
I wear a hoodie.
Right, when it's cold outside, I thought of Al Green, when it's cold outside, but that's another story. But when it's cold outside, we wear hoods. But that hood does not conceal your identity, because your full face is still shown while you're wearing a hood. So that was not, someone mentioned Trayvon Martin. I would absolutely not make it illegal to wear a hood on your head, because that is not a full face covering.
No, CCP, the people that called you asking questions, what was the majority of their concerns? What were they concerning with? What type of questions? Because maybe if we answer those questions in public,
Yes.
maybe you can prevent hundreds of calls maybe by tomorrow asking you about the same things because they saw this interview?
It was about health issues, health concerns for the disabled, for the elderly, more along the lines of a mass prohibition to stop the spread of COVID-19, which is number 2. No, that's the religious one. To stop the spread of infectious disease is the exemption number 7. So it does not apply to an N95 mask, even if it's black. It does not apply to a mask that you're wearing that covers this area of your face. We know now that you can identify someone, like our cell phones. Once COVID happened, you could have on a mask and your cell phone can still unlock.
Correct.
Right? So we're not referring to N95s. We're not referring to the mask that you wear to stop the spread of COVID-19. We're referring to these masks that some members in the community, or they could come from outside the community, but are coming to the city of Yonkers to commit crimes while wearing these masks. And we want to help our police department identify them and keep the city of Yonkers safe.
And possibly no driving with those masks on.
Wouldn't it be hard to see your peripheral? Absolutely. To be safe.
Be safe. Absolutely. This is all about the safety. This is all about helping our law enforcement identifying those that are engaged with things that they shouldn't be engaged on. This is all about the safety of all of us. Because remember, today might be the other person that became a victim of a crime. Tomorrow,
it could be one of us.
God forbid. It could be one of us.
You know the saying, but for the grace of God go I. So until it's hard to understand, and we understand that it's a culture for our young adults, but we also need to educate our young adults about the consequences and what could happen. My son goes to school in Manhattan, so I would not want him walking the streets of New York City with this mask. Because if it's 9 o'clock at night and you see an individual walking towards you, hands in their pocket with a hoodie on and this mask, we've had a warm winter, fall. It's not cold enough for you to walk around with this on. I would be afraid.
I would be afraid.
Yeah.
Or if you walk in at nighttime and you look back and you see somebody coming
toward you fully covered, you can't, as one of the young kids said on Monday, you can't see their facial expressions. You don't know if they're smiling at you. You don't know what they're thinking. And your first thought is apprehension. And that's what we want to prevent amongst our residents here in the city of Yonkers.
No, CCP, kids have a different way of thinking.
Absolutely.
Okay? They get motivated by the rapper that you just saw, you just mentioned. They saw the guy singing and rapping with that. They wanted to imitate.
Absolutely.
That's when parents
and mentors
absolutely, and guardians in general come into play and educate.
Absolutely.
And make sure that you enforce, because everything starts at home.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that you educated your kid in the proper way, explaining, look, if you do something wrong, there is consequences.
Absolutely.
This is what you should, this is what you shouldn't do. I have done the same.
Yes.
So what about a few words for the parents? Get involved with your kids. I always tell them, get involved. Sometimes you have the secret to solve a lot of problems if you address it at the correct time.
And also, I did speak with the superintendent who also came to the meeting on Monday, and you can't wear these in the schools. Right now, you cannot walk around the school. If an administrator or an adult at the school, they would ask you to take it off. But some of the points the kids made was, they'll say, okay, miss, I'll take it off. And the minute they walk around the corner, they put it back on. Right. But just to, not even only just the parents, the aunts, the uncles, the older cousins, the mentors, guide our youth in the right direction, because their young minds don't always think of consequences, and that's the part of childhood development, that as you grow older, you learn the consequences to actions and you make better decisions. So please, when you see our young adults out here wearing these masks, just pull them to the side and give them gentle love and explain to them why this is not the way they should go, right? Parents, talk to your children. As I said, I would love to hold town hall meetings where I'm engaging with the young adults who are directly impacted by this legislation. I don't want to make it in the bubble and think that I know all the answers. I want to engage you. So please, look for further information. We will put out notices when we'll have community events, and come out and have your voice heard. Even if you're against it, I want to know why you're against it, to see if there are ways that I could tweak the law that you would also agree to. So please, be mindful, talk to your children, and help them to understand that wearing masks like this is not safe in our community. and we want to help our Yonkers Police Department keep our children safe.
Exactly. Parents, if your kid is wearing one of these and somebody else sees them walking from behind, we don't know what's going on in the minds of both individuals. One might take it as a threat.
Right.
That person that takes it as a threat might be armed, legally armed, might turn around, is afraid, he fires a shot because maybe he saw something shiny and he assumed it was a weapon.
It could be the cell phone, right?
It could be the cell phone. Fires a fatal shot, and then tomorrow we have a problem because, oh, my son was not armed. Well, I thought he was armed and posed a threat. So you have the key to avoid a lot, many tragedies that could happen. Talk to your kids, get involved. Absolutely. And if you are watching this interview, please, if you want to express your point of view, don't just say, I agree, I disagree. I agree because of A, B, and C. I disagree because of A, B, and C. Articulate your point of view. Maybe the council president is reading and say, well, I didn't see it from that angle. Absolutely. There is a point there. Or maybe she might say, look, we're doing this because of this, and that. You understand. So engage, but engage in a polite and respectful manner. That's what we do here. And again, guys, Yonkers Voice is not my voice. Yonkers Voice is the platform where your voice can be heard. We create the bridge between you and our elected officials. We engage with them. This is something that we did not have 5, 6, 10 years ago.
Right.
Now we can engage directly and live. Thank you for watching. Council President, you have the closing.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruth, for all you do, and congratulations on your upcoming presidential acknowledgement.
Thank you.
It is well-deserved. You created a platform for the community of Yonkers. You are the go-to. When my husband's working, I'm watching Ruth to see what's going on. And I told him, I better not find out that you're involved in something or, God forbid, something happened from Rue before you call me. So he always calls and says, sweetheart, I'm okay, because
Good.
I'm watching Rue. But community, please get involved and come out and have your voices heard. Again, we will be holding public forums for you to express whether you're for or against this ordinance, but I care about your voice and I want to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Until next time.
Have a great day, and happy Veterans Day again.